Right, greetings, welcome everyone. I'm back to this philosophy club here in Bétet in the middle of France, in the middle of a beautiful rural part, where there are many magical places actually, and we've just been to one today on the River Creuse, which is worth seeing. Okay, so we're going to start. What we're doing again this week is comparing and contrasting the 99 names of God, which in Arabic is called Allah. And in Sufism, these qualities or features of God are really important. You know, this is what you need to study if you want to understand the nature of God. We're going to compare them with the gods, plural, as exemplified in the Tarot of the Gods, which I published a 2-volume work last year about them. And we're going to see if they correlate. So far, we've had quite good correlations. And the hypothesis that we're working with is that the one unity, the absolute, Allah, is actually the same as the plurality of the gods. So we'll work on that. Okay, I think we'll start with a god. You guys go first. Can I have the water, Judy? Thank you.
You just do it. Oh, I'm gonna go. You do it.
Oh, wow. Right. Okay. What's it called?
Elohim.
Right, thank you. Excellent. So this is a great card. And here is what it looks like. The Elohim is actually a plural word. It means the gods. It's in Hebrew, Elohim. And it is equivalent in the tarot to the Wheel of Fortune, the cycles of change and time. And it's the 10th of the major arcana. And it's very important in the Bible. So I'm going to read out a passage from the Bible, if I may. It's in the English translation. Here we are. And probably everyone will recognise it. Okay. This is my ancient copy of the New English Bible, which I bought in Canada in 1977. I'd never read the Bible before, and I got the Oxford Study Edition with the Apocrypha of the New English Bible. And I strongly recommend everybody should read the whole text, you know, in your native language, English, French, whatever. Okay, so this is the opening verse of the book of Genesis in the New English Bible version. In the beginning of creation, when God made heaven and earth, the earth was without form and void, and darkness covered the face of the abyss, and a mighty wind swept over the surface of the waters. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. Now the original text is in Hebrew, right? And this book, the book of Genesis, was written down by scribes associated with the temple in Jerusalem, probably about 900 BC. The word, when God made heaven and earth, is actually Elohim in Hebrew. And when God said, "Let there be light," it's Elohim said, "Let there be light." Which is interesting because it's actually the gods that create the universe, according to the Bible itself, and that create light. So it's pre-singular concept of God, and that's why in our tarot of gods we have the plural Elohim as the Wheel of Fortune, because even the gods change. Now some are in charge, some are top gods, some are less important, you know. I mean, Brahma, who should be the most important god in India, with the most temples and most priests, doesn't even have a single temple in the whole of India, even though he's the creator, and he creates the universe. Because they're too interested in, like, the storyline of Krishna and Vishnu, or the storyline of Shiva, much more exciting than boring old Brahma who just creates everything. He doesn't even get a temple. You know, but that might change when philosophers, the Shankaracharyas know about Brahma, might change. So anyway, the Elohim is the wheel of fortune of the gods themselves. And it's a very creative card. I've always loved Elohim. And there's also another little secret. It's a feminine plural. So it's in my Tarot of the Gods, but because it's traditionally called God, Elohim. But actually, if you know the grammar of Hebrew, it's the goddesses. So it's the goddesses have sneaked into the tarot in this form, Elohim. Maimonides said of this, I must premise that, who was the greatest philosopher of Judaism, by the way, lived in the Middle Ages, was from Cordoba in Spain and then went to live in Egypt and is now buried in Tiberias. I went around looking for his tomb once, couldn't find it. Maimonides said, I must premise that every Hebrew knows that the term Elohim is a homonym and denotes God, angels, judges, and rulers of countries. The etymology is a great clue here, because the term, like El or Elohim, is a term for the divine in all these Semitic languages. So Ilah is Arabic for God, or Allah. Al is the Samaritan. El in Phoenician. El in Ugaritic, which was on the coast of Lebanon, Syria. Ilu, Akkadian. Ilat is Arabic for goddess. Alit is Hebrew for goddess. Iltu is Akkadian for goddess. So they all come from this root, meaning something very sacred and divine. If one wants to study the psychoetymology of sound, as I did in my book, The Kabbalah Runes, I argue that why do they all use the L word to denote that which is most sacred? I speculate it's to do with the lingua, the tongue, which licks, and which is the origin of the logos, and which speaks. The logos is the word, L, la 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 la. And so in French you say la, le te, you know, the, it's the thing. And L is the creator of all our words. I can only speak because I'm using my L principle, which is my tongue, right? And so I think it's the sneaky old L, which is the creator of the divergent reality that we all exist in. And we humans have this L faculty of logic and logoic consciousness, which is L in manifestation. So we humans, as we speak and learn and talk to each other, we are manifesting that L principle. And I explain it all here. And in the runes, it's also very sacred. It stands for the lake, Lagaz, or Lagu, which is the life principle. It's there in the word life, libido, love, language, dialectic, and lysis, which is the philosophical holy grail. That's what we look for, is lysis, which means being set free from all our troubles. So anyway, L is an amazing word, and that's the psychoetymology of it. What would it equate to in the names of God, in the in the names of Allah? That's a very good question. Can I have the thank you. me have the picture because I can see it more from this beautiful picture that people may appreciate. This is the names of God all displayed in a calligraphic format, because in the Islamic mind you can't draw God. God is too vast and magnificent. God is the intelligence behind the universe, behind everyone that draws. So you can't draw God, but what you can do is try and describe the qualities of God. Which are very diverse, and I don't know how Muhammad channeled these 99 names. I believe it was him. Obviously he got it in deep prayer. He was a man of deep prayer and meditation. He would go into nature, into a cave in the mountains. He was a very humble man. You know, he believed you would find God in the signs of nature, in the sky, in the clouds, in the moon, in the sun, in animals, which he loved passionately. So these signs of God, they're what fill the Quran. He was an inspired prophet, which means that you can plug into the divine signs. I'm going to go with this one. The one who shapes all forms and appearances. That seems to me what Elohim is. I mean, Elohim is pretty awesome. You know, the creator, the one that creates the heavens and the earth and light. And by the way, light is an L word, obviously, light. As is love. And I think what's happened is the divine intelligence, the Elohim, they seeded into language the codes for creation. And it says, in the text I read out, that God says, let there be light. And there was light. So that creative act of speech, which we do it in a minor little way, a mini way. I mean, imagine a deity of divine intelligence like speaking the Big Bang to existence. Let there be light, you know, and the Big Bang happens. I think that's what happened. Before the Big Bang was the divine intelligence of consciousness and the Elohim. Physicists don't yet study this, but I believe in 100 or 200 years they'll catch up. And we need a new Newton. We need Newton to reincarnate and undo the muddle that Einstein caused, which is, I love Einstein, but he left a bit of a chaos and a muddle. He deconstructed Newton's cosmology, but didn't put anything in its place. You know, it's like taking a train set apart and, like, you know, you can't make it work anymore. So we need him to reincarnate and explain everything. And I think he would explain that the one who shapes all forms and appearances is indeed the Elohim. Now, let's see if we can find some key about this quality of Allah. Yes. Wow. You see that the names of God are translated differently in different sources, and I think this is the same as in this text, the shaper of beauty, al-Musawir, which is a beautiful way of describing shaper of beauty, because life is beautiful. You know, things are beautiful. We've just been by the river. It's beautiful. Birds are beautiful. People are beautiful. Sunsets. There's much more beauty in the world than there is ugliness. And light makes all that possible. As does intelligence, thinking, knowledge. So the one who shapes all forms and appearances, I think, is the same as al-Musawir. The perfect artist. So why does God bother to create creation? It's because he's an artist. This universe is like a canvas for that divine intelligence. We are creative and we get, you know, paper and we like to do drawings, or the internet now, we can make websites. But imagine you graduate to become a super intelligent, pan-galactic creator. then you'd become an Elohim. You'd be an Elohim. And I think that it's very interesting. I like Voltaire. I believe there must be divine intelligences on other planets. It's ridiculous to think that we're the only ones. That's like pre-Columbus, we all thought, you know, the world was flat or whatever. I mean, come on, the world's round. And therefore the cosmos is round, and it's shaped with divine intelligences. So these Elohim, I think, will also be active in other world systems, in other galaxies. I noted that they've just announced the discovery of water on Mars, and also trace elements of life. So life is on countless planets throughout the universe. So the Elohim have been busy. Why? Because he's a perfect artist who wants to create beauty. And that's why we are endowed with this creative principle as well, building, shaping, art, making things beautiful, architects, costume design, you know. And that's why we're here in the Museum of the Muses, because the Muses represent that principle in Greek mythology. So when Allah creates, he says kun, which is Arabic for be, and a whole universe comes into being. Again, it's this principle of speaking the world into being. But what is the secret of speaking is echoing the metaphysics of thought by the metaphysics of speech. I think that's what our ancestors, rishis, discovered. And in doing that, we are mini little Elohim, us humans. And the Bible tries to explain all this by saying Adam is endowed with the power of speech. He names all the animals. That's what they're trying to say here in the text. And that makes us, you know, unique, because we have a duty, therefore, to care for all the animals and all the plants and all the other living things. And, you know, we need to, like, live up to that high calling and responsibility, because the Elohim lives within us. And God said, let us make man in our image. So he created him in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God said, I give you the plants that bear seed everywhere, and every tree bearing fruit which yields seed. So it was. And God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. So that's what the Elohim are doing. Right. Okay, so I think those two correlate quite well. The one who shapes and forms beauty, and the Elohim. Right, shall we do another one? Let's do another one. Let Julie choose this time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, we'll do it the other way around. We'll do a name of God. You choose now, and then we'll see which card it comes up with.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Is that
okay.
a choice? Or?
Yeah.
No.
Can I have the cards?
I thought
Cheers.
Dave was going to
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah.
which one.
Super.
Probably.
Right. There we go.
I have one.
Okay.
Bless you.
Sorry.
The source of peace, security and safety.
Ah. That looks an important one. Right. Excellent. That's a good one. Let's see. Trouble is they have slightly different translations, and it's hard to find them correlating. See if you can find it there
All right.
in that list. I'm going to look in this list, which has yet another translation.
Maker of order, could it be?
Well, could be. Put that as a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, order brings peace to some extent. Mm. Mm.
The friend and protector, maybe?
Mm. I think that's got a different one. Mm.
Some left over here.
Mm. Mm. It's an important one for this time on planet Earth when we need peace more than anything. So this is the one who brings peace. I wonder if it's the protector. Is that what you said?
The maker of order. Oh, and
I think the protector. Al-Muhaim,
There's only one.
I would say.
What was the initial?
Mm.
The initial name was the source of peace.
Peace, security and safety.
Yeah.
Mm. I think it's the protector. Is there one called the protector in that list?
Here we go.
Mm. Mm.
No protector.
Okay. Ah. Well, that's strange. I think.
Well, there's something like that. The friend and protector.
Okay, let's go with that. Because you did say that as a suggestion earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Al-Wali.
Mm.
72.
Mm. Right.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's not the one. That's the friend. That's slightly different. The protector is Al-Muhammin. And he is here, number 15, page 15.
Okay.
The protector and the guardian. Okay, so according to the author of this study, who is a Sufi sheikh, God is in charge of evolution and the growth of his creatures. Like everything from the smallest little ant or the slightest particle of electricity. It's impossible for us to conceive how that's possible. Like, how can you be in charge of every little particle of electricity, every photon, and every wheeling galaxy, and all the love affairs, and all the relationships and friendships of all the animals on all the planets? Well, it's beyond our ken, but God, the Absolute, Al-Muhaymin, is the protector and guardian of all these creatures, and of life itself. The best we can do is be aware of that which protects and preserves us individually. So that's our conscience, what stops us doing wrongful things and encourages us to do good things. We're endowed with that creative intelligence, which is a moral intelligence, to enable us to act wisely. That's the whole purpose of philosophy, is to learn ethics as well as metaphysics. And it's that quality in the divine creator that comes in us to enable us to do the same. So, yes, one may find the reflection of al-Muhaymin in oneself through consciousness and awareness. So, I remember when I was a teenager, just starting out studying philosophy, I was about 19 or something at Bristol University, discovering Hegel for the first time. Because I'd been taught in religious classes at school that God is sort of out there, Holy Trinity, he watches you and will punish you if you're naughty. And I sort of instinctively rebelled against that. I thought that's not fair. Because, we often make mistakes, we don't have enough awareness to do the right thing. And then I read philosophy and I discovered Hegel and Plato and things, and I discovered that the consciousness in us is God's witness on the job. Each one of us, in a sense, judges ourselves after death. Your divine consciousness, which is like God's spy within you, is all the time saying, yeah, don't do that, that's wrong. Don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal, whatever. And you'll have to face your own consciousness in its higher form after death, when you will judge yourself. Now that consciousness is the protector in us. It's the divine quality that's seated within us, I think. And nothing escapes its attention. It's pretty awesome, really. I mean, and I think that's why I've written a book about religious mathematics. I'm fascinated by how that divine intelligence is able to do it, and why it can't do it a bit better, why it's not functional in Putin and Prigozhin and some of the mass torturers of history, and Hitler and Stalin. Where did it go? It was asleep on the job. So I'm trying to find the on switch for goodness, for divine consciousness, as Hegel was, and then switch it on. And I think Jesus was doing the same thing. That's why he was teaching what he called the good news of the kingdom of God. The good news was that we can access that. God isn't hiding and saying, no, you can't know it. You just stick to the dietary laws, or wear the right clothes. No, God is saying to us, said Christ and all the other great teachers, that we can access that divine consciousness within us, which Hegel explained in his great work, The Phenomenology of Spirit. And that's why some of the great Islamic philosophers, like Hegel, the founder of Pakistan, great poet and philosopher, had studied Hegel at Cambridge, and said, hey, this is completely compatible with the Quran. So anyway, that's that one. Okay, so which god is that going to be like? Which god can we, which of the tarot's gods is the
choose
protector
one at
and
random?
guardian? No, I'm going to select from the book. But I mean, if people have got suggestions, we can always confer about that. I would say it should be a major arcana. I think this is quite a powerful god, the protector and guardian of all beings. I want to say it's Temperance, which is card number 14 in the tarot. If you want to look through and find, it's Apollo, and we're actually in the room of Apollo here in the Museum of the Muses. He's the master of the 9 muses, and temperance is an incredibly important philosophical principle which protects us from evil and suffering. Like, eat moderately, don't overstuff yourself and get ill. Drink to moderation, don't become a drunkard, do everything in moderation, and that was the teaching of the philosophical schools of Athens, which were secretly, essentially, dedicated to Apollo. And Apollo is the god chosen for this card, Temperance, in the tarot of the gods. He was the god of music, because music teaches the soul harmony. And musicologists have realised that if you play music to children, if you teach them a musical instrument, they become much better at other subjects. Their souls become better ordered and more harmonious. So Apollo's been one of the most favourite gods of philosophers, artists, poets, musicians, and also healers. Apollo is the god of healing and medicine, because his son Asclepius became such a great physician when he was incarnated as a human. He was able to, thank you for that, Apollo. Oh, and we've got Asclepius too, so he gets a sort of a walk-in part in this. The sun. What was going on was that Asclepius was bringing people back to life. He was such a good doctor. People were dying and he could revive them. And Hades, the god of the underworld, secretly killed him off with a poisonous snake, which you see in the card, being killed off. And Apollo, therefore, told the sun to stop shining. He was so annoyed. This is like the Demeter-Persephone myth, but the male version. And eventually Hermes, the all-seeing intelligence officer of the gods, discovered that Asclepius was in the underworld, and a deal was done. He was allowed to come back to life and go to Olympus and go to heaven, and Apollo let the sun come back. But so the descendants of Asclepius were the physician doctors of the classical world, and Hippocrates was their most famous one, who discovered the principles of medicine. Now, medicine means it's the same route or as middle. You choose the middle path between extremes. A good doctor will say of diet, let it be moderate. Of temperature, don't over sweat. Don't have your bedroom at night so hot that you are sweating, but don't have it so cold you're shivering. Have it in the middle. And Aristotle, who was the great philosopher that succeeded Plato, made this into the basis of ethics. Aristotle said ethics is about finding the mean, the golden mean, between extremes. So this is why I would say, and if we follow that principle, which is seated within us, this is what we call common sense in English and Scottish philosophy. This is common sense philosophy. Well, that's seated within us. That's why I'm so against Brexit. It was extreme. It was a stupid idea. It was anti-Apollo. It was anti-reason. It was anti-healing. It was anti-intellectual, anti-wisdom. And it led to the loss of protection. The rights of countless people were affected by Brexit. And so anyone with a philosophical intelligence who studied all this stuff could see in a second Brexit's a bad idea. And sure enough, it turns out it was a conspiracy against the intelligence of the British people, devised by Russian Secret Service moles trying to bring us into a form of madness. Well, don't worry, guys. Apollo can heal madness, and he's the god you call on if somebody in your family is having mental health problems. I personally would love to see in every mental health ward, in every psychiatric hospital, a little shrine to Apollo, and a little room where people can practice meditation, where they can listen to music, where they can talk to wise sages that come in, priests, priestesses, druids, Buddhists, I don't care what, their outer label. Because that would get Apollo back to healing. In the ancient world, healing started by taking the patient to the temple of Apollo, and they would sleep there and get dreams, because Apollo works on the clairvoyant level of dreaming, and so the patient would dream the cause of their